benefits if someone's looking out there for community, like you said, maybe they could come and learn a little bit more about what's happening in that group. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, one of the challenges that many families have is being able to find other homeschoolers in the area. So, one of the things we have tagged in the features section at the top is locations. So, there's a tab for each state in the US and then each
Mm,
region in the world that you can put your location and actually find other people in your city and state that you can reach out to that you see that are also homeschooling. So we
yeah.
have that, which is really important. And then every day we have various members. They're sharing different activities, like their sports camps and, you know, different STEM workshops or different co ops or various, recently someone just put a post on having pen pals. Like, we can help our children
Okay.
write and develop those research. Let's exchange information to create pen pals. So there's tons of resources in this.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Absolutely. So I am Coach Sakile. I am a wife and a mother of six brilliant homeschooling slash world schooling children. And so I say world schooling because world schooling is all about experiential learning, where the world is your classroom. And so travel is a big component. And so that's an amazing experience that our children have been able to take a part of where we're all growing and learning every day. So I've been in the homeschooling arena for about 2 decades, which has been really a blessing. We have also worked with over 7,500 families to provide resources and information and coaching and consulting to help them confidently homeschool their children based on their children's unique learning style and personality to really cultivate their child's genius. And so that's our different that we really, we don't believe in a one size fits all education. We believe, there's a vast amount of ways to reach our children in a way that they're engaged and they're motivated and they're eager to learn. So we really want learning to be a fun experience. We want our children to be lifelong learners where this is not just something that you do, but something that you are. Like, I am a learner. I'm great at this. And this is what we do. We learn something every
Yeah.
day. So,
I love that. And it's almost in a way for me that when I hear you speak, I would probably, if I had to put it in one word, right? What do I feel when I hear you speak? And I can see, well, one, it's different also because I can see the expressions, but just from hearing your voice and the words that are coming from you, to me, it exudes peace, right? That's just my
mm,
take on it, right? It's a calmness, it's a certainty, and I want to touch on that, but I want to go from the beginning because I don't think that piece was that direct when you first started in the homeschooling, unless you already had that experience. I don't think most people will feel that piece yet. They're gonna feel frazzled, like, how do I begin this? I would love to teach my kids more than what's in the school system, but how kind of do I get that? So what would you tell maybe a listener out there to start to get over maybe some fear or something that's kind of stopping them to start their homeschooling process?
yeah. So, one of the things that holds people back from homeschooling, which was something that kind of slowed down my process. Being a first generation homeschooler is thinking, well, I'm not really a teacher. Like, am I even qualified? So we kind of remove ourselves from the equation before we get started because we don't believe that we're teachers. When in actuality, we are our child's first teacher. They learned how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to interact, you know, so much from us as parents. And we didn't have to get a degree to teach our children this. And so the same thing when it comes to homeschooling, like innately, we want our children to thrive, to excel in this life, and we love our children, and we have our children's best interests at hand. And having a clear why of why you want this for your children, I believe is like the first step. So one of the things that we do when we work with families is we create a homeschool mission statement. Like, why are you homeschooling? How is it going to be different from traditional school? What do you want your children to say to you after a couple of years of homeschooling? What type of experiences do you want to have? What obstacles do you see happening when it comes to homeschooling? And what are the potential solutions that we can address before those obstacles even, come to the surface? So when you have a clear why, that's not just on the surface, and you have a clear direction on how to get started. When life happens, which it always does, you'll have something to, we have them hanging up on the wall, where something to fall back on to really get clear on their why. So I think the first part to start is just getting clear on your why and why it's so important to you for you to create this lifestyle for your children, for your legacy, right? What, yeah.
Yeah. No, I
So,
get it. I'm feeling it. And something that I take from that when you just said that, and I use this when I speak to people and my speaking conferences and so forth, is a little touch on imposter syndrome, right? Who am I to be talking to this group? Why should they listen to me? Who am I to be teaching my kid when maybe I wasn't strong in algebra or in math, for an example? But I don't think, and I think that's probably a misconception, and you can maybe guide me and some listeners a little bit better here. I think it's a misconception that most people think that if I'm homeschooling, I am teaching every subject, everything, when I didn't do as well in school. So I always tell people don't let those gremlins hop up on you because those things are not good for you. Okay. So what are your thoughts on, you know, those parents or people out there who would be thinking, hey, I'm not as strong in this subject, so why should I be teaching it?
absolutely. So it's interesting. When it comes to homeschooling, I believe it's a big misnomer that homeschooling necessarily has to take place in the four walls of a home, right? Like it does in a classroom. So I think a big mistake that a lot of homeschoolers have is they go in thinking that's going to be the same as traditional schooling. They're going to do the same 6, 8 hours. They're going to teach a subject, 50 minutes, 50 minutes. And that's not the case. With homeschooling, I feel like it's a very much a community. Like it says, it takes a village to raise a child. So when you're homeschooling, a lot of times you're going to be using resources from outside, outside of your home. So, for instance, there's co ops that you can join so your children can have the interaction and maybe interact with other parents that maybe mathematics is their things or chemistry is their interest or they're great in the garden. And so a lot of time, and then whatever you're good at, maybe you're great at, I don't know, sewing or creating clothes. So you're like, I'm going to bring this interest, this talent of mine's to the co op. So that's one way to do that. And then there's, online courses, there's tons of resources, there's workshops. So, like, for instance, when our children were beginning the homeschooling process, and really diving into the academic part. We only did academics like for 2 hours. Like I had to figure out number one, I'm not the most patient person. I like exude peace. Uh, I am not the most patient person. So I realized like, okay, when am I most patient? So I'm most patient from 6 a.m. to 9. Now, okay, I need some time for myself. So let me take the 6 to 7 to really do my internal work, journal, meditate, do what is necessary for me to like start my day off in a good space. And then from 7 to 9, we would do lessons. So we would do 4 25-minute lessons. And a lot of times we would do things where it overlaps. So, of course, they had their math, their reading, their language arts, right? And so let's just say we're doing, and then maybe they'll do something like penmanship or something to do with that. So they're doing their penmanship cursive, but they're doing it African proverbs that they're writing over and over again. So not only are they practicing their handwriting and their penmanship, but they're also learning like these amazing African proverbs, and we would talk about how they can utilize it in life today. So we'll have those great conversations. Then maybe they would do something like reading, but what they're reading is science or a historical event that took place. So not only are they working on their reading, but they're also working on their science or history, right? And so being able to combine multiple lessons. So by the time it's 9 o'clock, they have really went through like eight topics and their lessons done. And now before most people have even started the day, they're finished with their academics. And now we're moving on to those life skills. So from like 9 until 11, they're cooking, they're preparing the meal, they're cleaning, you know, and then we will move on to like 12. By 12, we're out the door. We packed our lunch and we're going to a museum. We're going to a planetarium. We're going to a concert. We're going to see Joffrey Ballet or, something of that nature. And we would invite other homeschooling families to join us where they're able to interact with other homeschoolers that have similar values and principles. And then from like 3:30 until 6, they would end up taking like two after school activities. So they were taking capoeira, African dance, they were taking gymnastics, swimming, basketball, football, piano, cooking classes, jewelry making, photography. And they would be learning from experts. So they would take one from 3:30 until like 4:45, and then another one from like 4:45 to 6. And so and then on the weekends they would volunteer. And so, and they would do internships like at a bike
Yeah.
shop. So it's not like they were never alone. They were
Right.
always with other experts, with other children. And so it's not something that you necessarily have to do by yourself. So you don't have to be an expert, but you do have to learn how to ask for help and to find those resources and just be a little creative, and you'll be fine. Your children
Love
will
that.
thrive.
Love it. Yeah, and I can see that being outside learning part, and man, that right there in itself for me, or being going to, like you said, the ballet, or just seeing something different, cooking classes from you, like learning those life skills. Those are some important things because I see so many kids who come out of school and they just don't know. They seemed even more lost than when they were in. Now, I want to talk about the resources because you just mentioned that. So I was looking into your group and everything, and so I'm going to pull this up here so we can see how this looks here. We have Black Homeschoolers Unite, support, resources, and guidance. So I wanted people to take a look at this. It's a
Absolutely.
social media group. It's a private group, right, where people can look up, come and join, come and see you. So can you touch on the group, why you created it, what are some of the benefits if someone's looking out there for community, like you said, maybe they could come and learn a little bit more about what's happening in that group. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, one of the challenges that many families have is being able to find other homeschoolers in the area. So, one of the things we have tagged in the features section at the top is locations. So, there's a tab for each state in the US and then each
Mm,
region in the world that you can put your location and actually find other people in your city and state that you can reach out to that you see that are also homeschooling. So we
yeah.
have that, which is really important. And then every day we have various members. They're sharing different activities like their sports camps and, you know, different STEM workshops or different co-ops or various, recently someone just put a post on having pen pals, like, we can help our children
Okay.
write and develop those research. Let's exchange information to create pen pals. So there's tons of resources in this group. One of the things I give to all the members is I have what has been called the homeschool manual. It's called Homeschooling Revolution, where I really go A through Z of what you need to do in order to begin your homeschooling process. And I even have a checklist of all the steps that you need that's necessary in order to get this process started, to legally set it up and everything. And
Yeah.
so I can share that resource. It's just www.embraceyourfree.com slash homeschooling dash revolution. So again, it's
Love it.
www.embraceyourfree.com slash homeschooling dash, or it's backslash, but homeschooling dash revolution. And so it's a free guide where I really break down every step that you need to homeschooling, how to overcome like, what are the challenges, how to overcome them, how to find the resources that you need. And also, we share stories of real life families that are homeschooling and the, uh, the results that they're having as they homeschool. Also, in our community, each week we have a podcast
Yeah.
calling Learning Outside of the Box, the Homeschool Chronicles. So each week we interview a family that is homeschooling and we talk about why they chose this journey. What was that motivation to get them started? What the perks that they've had, what is their homeschooling type, and also we get into like what have their challenges been and how were they able to overcome them. Another big issue when it comes to, well, at least perceived issue that a lot of homeschoolers or potential homeschoolers have is like, how will I make an income if I'm with these children all day? How will you make a living? So the different families also share how they are able to have an income that is able to support their family as a homeschool. And we interview two parent households, we interview single parent households, and so we blended families. So we have the whole gamut. And we worked with families where it's like aunties that are homeschooling their children, grandparents that are homeschooling their children. And so there's so many different um, ways to homeschooling, so many different family types, and it's possible. And yeah, and so this group is a beautiful community of over 6,500, Black homeschooling families that are
Yeah.
sharing their journey, sharing their experience with each other, really loving and supporting each other. It's a really beautiful thing to
I
watch.
love
So,
that. And that's for me the number one thing is that community, right? Because I truly feel that, no one, and first I say this, success is defined by each person, right? Don't let society tell you what success means. It doesn't always mean money. Success could be peace. Success could just mean,
mm,
hey, you know what? I'm enjoying my family or whatever it is. But I believe no one become successful by themselves. You have to have some form of group, even if it's a small circle. I know some people say I don't trust so many people, right? But get involved in the community, especially like-minded people, right? Like you said, that was
Yes.
such a great feature to be able to find someone close to you, because sometimes we want to start something and we just feel alone. We just feel like there's no one
Mhm.
else out there doing that. There's no way that that's going to work for me. I can't believe it.
Exactly.
And there's a gremlin. I tried to get the gremlin. Don't let the gremlins come up and bite you, right?
No.
Don't let the gremlin, that gremlin get on the shoulder. It's like, you can't do it. You can't do it. No, you're going to
Exactly.
fail.
Whispering in
You're
your
not going to say,
ear.
right. You know, you got to try something different and, push towards it. And that's one of the great things I love about your group and everything, keeping positive. So all of the information, the what you said for your list and everything, all of that's going to be in the show notes. So anyone listening will have access to it. They can click on the link, follow, and
Awesome.
make sure you follow Coach Sakile and her group and her personally, everything like that. So we're going to get ready to wrap up, but I want to ask you this, because I usually ask my guests, where can people find you, right? And I
Yeah.
started thinking about it. I already put that information in the show notes already. I already put the links, the websites, and everything there, so they know where to find you. I want to ask you this: what would you say to someone out there to let them know the importance of what you're working for, what your goals are and everything, so that they say to themselves, you know what, that's a tribe that I'm working to follow.
Exactly. So it's interesting. The name of my company is Embrace Your Free. And so it's really important. Like, our goal is to help families live and create the life of their dreams. Not someday, not one day, but today, right now, because tomorrow is not promised. And I've had so many uh, friends, close friends, and me, well, friends that have actually died at such a young age where they weren't able to realize their dreams. And I also, like, I think around almost 10 years ago, I almost passed. And so I had to ask myself, like, what is the most important thing to me? And my family, like, is so important. And me wanting to be there to see each monumental step that they had in their life, and being the one, like, I have very strong values and principles, and so being able to instill my values, my principles, what's important, my vision, for our family and our future into our children, which I think is really important, versus having others mainstream that don't necessarily have our children's interests, best interest in mind, or whose values and principles may or may not be aligned with our own. So, being able to homeschool our children, we have the freedom to educate our children in a way where they're really thriving, in a way that is aligned with our values and principles, really being able to see them thrive. A lot of times, again, in school, there's a one size fits all, like, way to teach and curriculum. But when you homeschool, you can actually personalize the educational experience for each one of your children, where you can pace it at the pace that fits them the best. Like, our children, they're all straight A students, because for us, mastery is key. It is not like, if you don't finish this, learn this lesson in 2 days, we're just gonna leave you behind. You just get an F, right? No, we do it until we learn it. Once you learn it, once you master it, when you have a deep understanding, then you move on. And that builds a deep level of confidence in our children. When people meet my children, they speak about how confident they are, how well mannered, how respectful, how they are great at conversating and with a variety of people, because also we're world schoolers. So we did our 50 state tour, and now we're on our 100 country tour. So they're able to interact with people from various cultures, from various socioeconomic um, parameters, you know, from different spiritual beliefs or religious. They're able to interact and they feel comfortable, and they're able to not just read information and just take it in, but they read information, then they experience it, and then they're able to process it. And they're just like, I read that, but that's actually not true based on the experiences and actually talking to people that are part of this belief or this culture. Actually, they do things in this way. So it's a really beautiful experience that not only will your children thrive and grow, but you will too. As a parent, like every day, I'm learning like our children. Like, did you know this? Did you know that? Or as we travel, I'm learning about different cultures. I'm learning the different languages. Also, I mean, I have to as you travel, at least some words. So it causes me to constantly grow, constantly push myself out of my comfort zone. And then our children are also learning, like, okay, maybe the comfort zone is not the place to see. So it's not just preaching to our children, but they get to see me and my husband reading every day, learning, expanding, traveling the world, starting our businesses, and the principles and the values that we teach, they get to see us living it daily. It's not just something that they hear, but then they go out into the world and they see other people doing something completely opposite, but they actually get to see us living it. And because we want, and it also is almost like accountability for us because we're just like, oh, we said this, so now we got to do it because we got six eyes looking at us to make sure it happens. And so I just believe like homeschooling is such a beautiful experience to really be able to bond with your children and your family and have the freedom to educate and have the experiences that you truly desire to have. So,
Yeah. That's man, that's like hits it right in the feelers right there, right? So I sincerely appreciate you for bringing this knowledge to me, to the world, to everyone who may not have known about it at all, right? Who may have maybe had a little, inkling of what was going on. But this is a great way for them to say, you know what? Even if I don't directly do it myself, I want to become a part of a community who could maybe soften the blow for me, and then one day I could say, let's go for it, or let's
mhm.
prepare for it. So I really like that. Thank you for being here. And all of your, ladies and gentlemen, all of the show notes will contain all of the websites for the group, for personal pages, whatever she wants up there for you. Make sure you get in touch, though. Make sure you get in touch. And I want you to hold on for me for 1 second, Coach Sakile, because I'm going to end the show, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to you, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming to another episode of J1Q, the podcast that is dedicated to you and your growth and learning and experience. We're bringing you positive stories to unite the Black and minority cultures. We're showing everyone out there that you can do it. Just continue to do it. And as I always tell you, make sure that you keep living while you are alive.